There's something inherently intimidating about the word hardcore. Perhaps it's the fact that many gamers most commonly associate it with permanently losing a much beloved character after hours of progress. Or maybe it's how often the word is associated with the many macho badasses in various forms of media. So alright game, what kind of adrenaline-pumping, John Rambo, Marcus Phoenix type shit are you gonna throw at me? Come on, don't be shy, I can take it.
He just goes.
This game.
I like it.
It's easily within my top 10 favorite games of all time. Sorry, UN Squadron, you're out. It checks all the right boxes for me. Metroidvania-style gameplay? Check. Beautiful soundtrack? Check. Gorgeous visuals? Check. Stereotypical French guy?
Is it though?
Check. Story? It has one. And absolutely one of the most adorable companions to ever exist. Fucking check. There aren't enough good things I can say about Dust and Elysian Tail. If you don't own this game, buy it. Throw your money at Dean Dodrill, Doodrill, Ditto, so he can make the sequel. Alright, I think I've gotten all the fanboying out of my system. So what exactly are we getting ourselves into when we select to begin a new game on the hardcore difficulty in Dust? Well, the game doesn't really tell you. Although it does say that simply choosing this option demands respect. So, you know, go ahead. I guess we're just gonna have to start the game and be surprised with the... Sorry. I guess we're gonna have to start the game and... We just need to... It's gonna be one of those games, isn't it? Yep, this sure is a higher difficulty setting. That's really the main thought that went through my head while playing through this. The beginning of the game on hardcore, like its previous difficulties, does a fairly good job of easing you into the combat, and once you've had time to get acquainted with the controls, it'll start trying to actually challenge you. Honestly, I like the slower pacing at the beginning because it does a good job of introducing the player to what's going to be expected of them further into the game. Enemies deal much more damage compared to even the second highest difficulty, and of course, you deal less damage to them because that's fun. Although I will say that the decrease in damage you deal isn't really that noticeable throughout the game. With all the maneuverability options you have, plus the fact that most enemies won't get the chance to attack you because they'll be too busy getting hit with a sword, you're probably not going to get hit much near the beginning of the game, and even then it takes a good 3 hits before you die. You may even start to think that hardcore isn't as scary as it initially sounded, and then wham! Giants. They're easy enough to dodge once you get their attack patterns down, but one small mistake and you're dead. Just outright dead. Let me just do some calculating here. That's nearly 3 fucking times your maximum health at this point in the game. I call bullshit. In previous difficulties, whenever you would take a massive hit like this, instead of dying, you'd be taken down to 1 HP. But in hardcore, the margin between something killing you and something letting you stay alive is small. Not non-existent, just really, really small. It's a nice system in previous difficulties that keeps you engaged, and you'll notice when it's taken away. The issue with this is that now so many enemies can just one-shot you, and sometimes it isn't even clear which ones are going to be able to do so. I was just one-shotted by fodder. That's nice. I can deal with getting hit harder in higher difficulties, that's expected. Getting murdered in 1 hit is kind of a dick move, but at least it's fairly infrequent, and I guess you could say it accurately conveys the sense of dread that you're supposed to feel when encountering a powerful looking foe. There's also some consistency in how much an enemy telegraphs its attack and how much damage that attack deals. Then the environmental hazards start happening. Spikes, falling rocks, avalanches, icicles, lava, and fire apparently all did some training in between the various difficulties. Most of them won't outright kill you, except for the fucking icicles for whatever reason, but at least now they're significantly more threatening. Something I do have to praise is how the hardcore difficulty respects you as a player. It expects you to be as well equipped as you possibly can for each occasion. The way that the final boss accounts for you having tons of healing items plus stat boosts made for a genuinely intense final boss. But that's just one instance. Most of the battles throughout the game can be easily trivialized by the immense amount of healing items you can accumulate. It's at this point that I need to throw up a massive spoiler warning. Since Dust and Elysian Tail is more of a story-driven game, it's hard to talk about the bosses without giving something away. Alright, are all the spoilable people away? Good. I want them to experience the depressing things in the story firsthand. Since there are only... seriously, last warning. If you don't want to be spoiled, go away. Since there are only 4 major bosses in the game, it's easier for me to talk about each one individually. Starting off with the first boss, Fuse. He sure is a character with a health bar. He's pretty easy for a boss on the hardest difficulty, and the same can be said for the third boss, Cain. Speaking of Cain, I actually expected him to be able to one-shot me during the chase sequences in the mansion, but he does a pathetic amount of damage. Seriously, the minions he summons in the fight are stronger than he is. Lady Tethys is a different story. Aside from the lovely addition of her arena being littered with spikes, she also has an attack that has the ability to one-shot you, but only when the blade she swings is behind her. Otherwise, it'll only nearly murder you. General Gaius is a shining example of the final boss encounter on a game's hardest difficulty. While on previous difficulties I wasn't too enthralled by him, here he's genuinely kind of challenging. Like I said earlier, his fight accounts for you having tons of healing items, so he deals heavy amounts of damage. Enough to kill you in 2 hits even if you do have the best equipment. But if you use the defense boosting items, it'll take many more hits to kill you. In this way, the final boss feels like a challenge on both your skill as a player and on your inventory. And now that I've said that, it sounds really weird. But it works surprisingly well. The fight's intense and feels accomplishing once you complete it, and it doesn't overstay its welcome either. All the boss fights as a whole end up being just okay, and if it weren't for Gaius being done the way he is, they'd be a miserable letdown. The stages leading up to most of the bosses are harder than the bosses themselves. Fuse and Cain are forgettable, and Lady Tethys only seems difficult because of the one-shotting potential she has, and the fact that spikes are assholes. Alright, spoilables, you can come back now. Did you have a nice whatever you were doing? Good. Overall, the difficulty in Dust's hardcore setting is just sort of... eh? It's not bad, but it also isn't all that good. It's somewhere in between. It lacks any truly challenging points that give you a sense of satisfaction for overcoming. Most of the difficult points are only so because of enemies that can kill you in one hit or inconveniently placed hazards. It's a nice introduction to intense difficulties, but it's certainly tame for what it is. I sure hope you like this combo, because you're going to be using it a lot. I also hope you like doing this, because you're going to be using it the rest of the time. Aside from that, there isn't much to say regarding strategies. You more or less do the same thing in hardcore that you did in the previous difficulties. You just do it for a little while longer. You'll spend a lot of time combing through areas to get keys and unlocking treasure chests to get improved equipment, blueprints, and healing items. Most of your gold is going to be spent on materials so you can make the best equipment, with the rest buying even more healing items and revival stones. That's really it. Next section, I guess.
Damn it!
I'm beginning to notice a theme here. In terms of rewards, you don't get any for completing Dust on Hardcore. Well, you don't get anything specifically for completing the game on Hardcore. There is an achievement for completing the game on Tough or Hardcore, but I already had that one for completing the game on Tough, so it didn't really do anything for me. There's one small thing that can maybe kind of sort of be considered a reward. In Dust, you receive bonus experience for completing combos. The larger the combo chain, the greater the experience bonus, and getting hit at any point during the combo breaks the chain, so you won't receive the bonus experience. Since enemies on Hardcore take more hits to kill, that means you can work up a pretty high combo chain and get a lot of experience for it. It's not really a reward, but it kind of is. I guess. Maybe. I don't fucking know. But it's better than I can say for certain other games. If you're thinking about getting into the harder side of gaming, then Dust and Elysian Tail's hardcore difficulty is a nice entry, but it's overall underwhelming if you have any sort of experience in playing harder games. The game on its own is much more memorable than the experience that its hardest difficulty had. I wish I had more to say about it, but it's just generally forgettable. Anyway, as always, thank you guys for watching, and be sure to check back at various points in the future for new videos. My name's Serivich, and I'll see you eventually.
Have you seen the scream? He just goes,
Damn it!
Damn it!
In other words, Dust, you will need to kill yourself.
Damn it!
You're still here, huh? Well, in that case, I guess I could refer you to some other videos of mine if you're interested in that sort of thing. The moving thing that you're seeing on the left side of your screen is linked to my previous Masochist review on Postal 2's Impossible difficulty. And if you look to your right, you're probably going to see a wall or something. Look back at the screen. The thing you see with moving pictures on the right side of the screen is my previous region-locked video on Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Underneath both of those is a super secret link that only the bravest of souls will click. It may or may not just be a link to another video. I'll go ahead and ask you to subscribe to keep up to date with whatever the hell's going on with my channel, and if you enjoyed the video, maybe click the like button, and if you didn't like the content, you probably have a reason, so tell me what that reason is and I'll be sure to ignore it. Again, thank you for watching. Now get out so I can get back to work.